Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in StarSector, and I'm trying to continue on about where we left off in the last video. So I'm calling this a getting started, even though I go into a bit more detail on certain real gameplay aspects. But it's kind of, one of my quirks is how do I want to say this? My quirks are I need to understand how the game interface works before I can really truly play the game. So this is one of the reasons I kind of go into, this is my version of the getting started, is understanding what is the GUI, how do I manipulate the GUI, what does it really do, what does it mean. So that's kind of where I'm focused. I want to actually show you some of these. So in this case, we showed you just a very little about the map tab. Let's look at the very bottom of the screen there. The map tab, we talked very briefly about the inventory, at least how it related within the colony. We never talked about Intel. We never talked in detail about the command. That's the page that's up right now. You have some tabs there. So what I'm going to do is just continue on right here. So we're on my main colony. I want to call it the main colony. It wasn't actually the first colony. So Shasta, as I babbled about in the first one, was the first puma I worked with. So this was affectionately named after that particular cat. So Shasta, it's my main colony from the perspective of this is the capital, right? It's not necessarily the biggest, not necessarily the best, not necessarily the most profitable. Is it the most profitable? No. Samson is actually more profitable. So Shasta is here. Yeah. So Samson is actually more profitable than, but 550, 148. Yeah, and Vishnu is right close behind. So anyway, not necessarily the most profitable, but it is what I consider my capital, and it is the regional center for me. So yeah. So what does all this mean? Well, as you click on, so we are in the command tab, command window, and we are on the income tab of the command window. So it gives me a rundown of the incomes, right? So you have a running list here. You see how much my fleet costs, which we went into briefly last time, the colonies. So this top, so if we close these are the only two you see, right? So my fleet upkeep is this cost, which is passed here. Why is that? Because my fleet does not make any money. All it does is cost me money. Okay, so when I buy things, whatever, the only plus in terms of my fleet is if I sell a lot of stuff, and those two numbers are going to cancel each other out, right? So if I buy stuff, it's a cost. If I sell stuff, it's a sell, right? So wherever those numbers actually end up is whether I have a plus figure or a minus figure. And those technically are under the fleet. You will see those under the fleet. Officer payroll. So I've got all these officers. Most of them are sitting idle. Okay, so you can dismiss them. We'll might actually get there. Hopefully this episode we will get there. Okay, we talked about colony. Actually, let me, before I leave here, so we see the list of all the colonies. Now, what does that tell me? So let's go into Samson because we're excuse me, Shasta. We're going to go into Shasta because that's where we're at. What exports do I have? Well, these are all the exports that I have available. Now, if we jump into any one of these, all it's going to tell me is I'm exporting 13 units of heavy machinery, and I control 5% of the global market of that. So I can actually look at some of these and see I control 5% of the market, 7% of the market, 5% of the market, 6% of the market. So you can see where you stand in the overall trading mechanism for all of these. So how do you win this game? Under Nexarellan, which is one of the mods I have loaded, You become the majority exporter for the majority of items, and you win the game. Or you kill everybody off. Those are the other way is you have favorable relations with everybody, and then you win the game. So you can either be a diplomat, you can either buy your way in by way of trade. You are the trade champion of the sector, or you are the warlord of the sector. So those are the three different ways: diplomacy or war, or trade. So those are the three ways you can actually quote unquote win the game under Nexarellan. Nice to have the view here of what it is, and we'll actually look at some of the industries, and we'll find we'll find some of these items so you can see more information. So hopefully we'll bring up some of that information. Okay, so closing imports. Let's go into any number of industries. And I want to see, for example, what is, for example, my farming industry actually doing. So we can see here that I'm producing an awful lot of stuff, and I need a certain amount of stuff. So this is the direct reference to what each of these particular industries are doing. Now, highlighting Shasta itself, I can see, again, the same picture here as what all my different industries are. What is the size? In this case 10. What is the current stability, which in this case is 10. What are the income modifiers that I have? What are the upkeep modifiers? So this is all of your colony specific information, up to and including what's your income, what's your upkeep, which is your outgo inherent to the colony, as well as your net, which is what remains. Is it a negative number? It might be. So you can see for all of these different things that the negatives that you bring in. Now, unfortunately, what it's not listing, for example, farming does bring in a certain amount of resources. So those are not being showed here. So it doesn't the only thing listed on all of these structures is basically an upkeep figure. So it's not showing you everything, other than your touristy stuff. So that's quite a bit of touristy. So Sage, which is another one out there, so that's making obviously quite a bit less. Oh, not quite a bit, just a little bit. As you can see, it's also a 10. Current stability is 10. Benefiting from the supercomputer that's sitting out there on Nemers, which is way the heck out there. So colonies, I can get into some specific numbers about colonies. So I can see my administrator there on the very right-hand column there. Any items that are specific to the industries there, which are all those specialized items. So all the blue there is that those are all Alpha Core running. That's my net income. What's the size? Yes, we're going backwards. What is the stability in this case? The actual location of that is either the star system or in system in this case. The conditions of that particular colony. So in this case are all those little conditions that you saw at the top of the screen there. So there are certain stations here which are all part of the terraforming and stations mod. So this is a siphon station, so it only has these items. You can only do these around the gas giant planets that have volatiles. So if you don't have volatiles, you can't actually build this. This is effectively a population station. So you could be in the middle of absolutely nowhere with no resources in this particular sector, this particular system, and you could build this in orbit around something, and you could build it as a colony. So it has no anythings associated with it. other than it's in orbit around something. The planets, of course, have their unique things. This is a mining station, so it actually has whatever capabilities are there within the system. So basically, it is directly referencing the number of asteroid fields that you have in your system. So you can actually build this. The idea is that it starts out low. If you've only got one, it goes up to 5. So if there are more than 5 asteroid fields, it can take advantage of all of them, but that's all. So once you reach 5, you're at the max, that's it. So it doesn't really care after that. So in this case, I have 3 mining stations in here. They function as independent colonies. This is another station, siphon station. So the one siphon station, so in this case, it's the Tigris siphon station, which actually was the first of the colonies I built, which is why it's listed up here at the top. So that was the first place I went. Then there's actually, this is more or less a defensive station, but it's also got a lot of other stuff. So these were the 2 that were built originally over there. And eventually I did found another colony. So these are kind of founded, this is in the order they were founded, it looks like, on this particular, on the colonies page. It's the order they were founded. So I got to this particular system. All of this stuff is in this system until we get to the very end. And then I have one more. So this Kriska is actually back in the Bengali Tigris system, and I did eventually found a colony, founded a colony on the gas giant Tigris, which was where the siphon originally was. So eventually I did that more for fun than anything else. So some less profitable than others, but I'm not terribly worried about profit individually in this case, because even if one is horribly non-profitable, I'm making enough profit elsewhere to stay in the black overall. But, you know, it's a good idea if you have a bunch of colonies, especially as I do in this case, then understanding where they're at. Any planet can be useful in some way. You know, you can terraform things. If it's got any resources on it at all, you can use it in some way. Obviously, building a colony on a planet that has nothing, probably not the wisest thing you've ever done. So, you know, plan your colony wisely, including the location. Even if it's not inherently habitable, it may still be useful as a colony. You may roam around for a while to find a habitable planet. All right, so we've gone into, I think, detail on understanding what the colonies tab actually is. What the income tab is actually telling you, very handy information. I spend more time here on the income tab than anywhere else, because I want to see what everything looks like. Doctrines and blueprints. So for better terminology, for the sake of better terminology here, this is how you set up your fleets in general. So the Paragon, which I showed you in the first one, which is part of this mod, my mod specifically, I gave that one a priority. So is it prioritized? And you can select any of them you want. These are the ones I want in here. So in this case, I'm prioritizing the Paragon. I want those ships in my fleet. Why do I want those ships in my fleet? Because they're tough. They really are. So why not? You know, I built them, I might as well use them. You can specify weapons and fighters as well. You can get into whatever granularity level that you want. Custom productions. So this is where you build your stuff. Now, where is the production in this case? So Unfortunately, the way this does things is your very first colony. I don't know how to change this yet. I maybe select gathering point. So I guess this is fairly easy. So click on it, and we're going to click Shasta because that's my capital. And everything you commission here will then be delivered to your storage here. Okay? So if I want to select, let's say I want to create, okay, I can only do 2 at a time. But let's say I want to build 2 paragons. Okay? So I select 1 and 2. This is my quantity. That's all I can do. The base model here is 1,280,000. I have this capacity per month. So that's what I'm going to build. And I can either reset, which is going to blank that. Let's put those back in. And confirm. Okay. So interestingly enough, I have a confirmed order, but the orders tab doesn't do anything. So I don't know if that's a bug or it's just going to be a later thing. And maybe that is you're commissioning elsewhere. So I have not yet used that, but nor have I commissioned ships elsewhere. I've only built ships within my colonies. So that may be what that is. So doctrines and blueprints, your defensive fleets. That's what this is about, your defensive fleets. So you can select anything. You can go into details on the weapons you want to use and outfit your ships. Whatever. Anything that you know is in this list. Okay? So you can see all of this stuff. So, yeah, wow. That's a lot of stuff. Antimatter energy group. A lot of stuff. So Bengali, that's me. So obviously you've got a lot of ships available, and you can set any one of these as priorities and fill your fleet with them. You can go into details on weapons, and you can select and prioritize weapons. So you could set your fleets up with the most holy crap weapons, and that's all you use. It's all available to you in the game. You can actually set your fleet compositions over here, what you want, what the weights are. These weights will change. So for example, if I went up in phase ships, my warships are going to go down. If I go up in warships, those are going to automatically go down. So, I kept these about the same because your warships have their place and your carriers also have their place. So you want those fighters, those fighter wings, to be able to go out and defend, and they can bring some incredible stuff to the table. So understanding what all these things are, you can get as granular as you want. So that's really the bottom line, is understanding what you can do is all right here. How you set up your defensive fleets. These are basically the AI portion fleets. And AI, what I mean by that is the game-controlled fleets. And I'll show you what I mean by that. In fact, let me go ahead and do that right now. So all of these fleets that you see, so here's a Kenti Tiger Clan, of course. Detachment over here. Patrol. We have, this is a fast picket over here. If I can, yeah. So that's a fast picket. Another fleet patrol over here. So this is the composition. So doctrine says that's what's in these. Okay, that's how you set that up, and then the game uses that to create these fleets on the fly. This is my fleet right here, which we can get into in a moment. So this is what you see. So you can see I have an awful lot of stuff here. So late game, you want to have all the defenses. That way somebody can't really come in and do anything to you. Your fleets here are going to go out and intercept them and really wreak havoc. They are going to defend you very, very well. So in this case, things that are hard to see, each one of these planets has a station, which in this case it's showing up as a remnant station because it's the AI station that you see in the list. So the AI station in the game is the remnant nexus, so that's what's here. So it's just the way that mod brought this in and became. These are the mirrors that you see. One of the other things that is, let's see if we can see it. Nope, I guess I don't have it here. I was going to say, I thought I had them here, but maybe not. Sometimes you can actually see, let's see if I can find, so the nav buoy, so this will increase the burn rate in game for everything. Was hoping I could find some of the others. Let's roam around here a little bit. So you can see my fleet moving here. We are zoomed out a lot. So what I'm looking for are the I want to find the mining. Okay, so this is left click. If you left click and hold, your fleet is actually going to travel in the direction that you want. You can actually left click and it will go to wherever you left clicked. So for example, there's a left click, it's going to go right there and stop. Bing, there we stop. Or I click on something like the sensor array. So the sensor array will give you, in this case, plus 700 range to everybody who is friendly to you. Same faction fleets in the system. So just by having that sensor array. So let's continue on around the circle here. I have 3 mining stations. There they are. So here are the mining stations. So let's go to mining station 1. It might have ended up on, mining station 1. You can see I've got a lot of stuff here as well. Okay, so we're going to go into the colony. So manage the colony. I'm going to go into colony info, which is M. I'm going to do a Q and get on to okay, so here's the second page. So in this case, again, with grand colonies, we get that second page of 12, and to swap pages is a Q. You can actually change this in the settings to be something else if you want to use Q for something else. The only hassle with Q is it's right next to tab. So a lot of times I'm intending to do a Q, but I press tab instead, which puts me into the map. So oops. And unfortunately, there's no way to get back into the colony other than to exit the map and go back into the colony. So that's the downside. So in this case, add industry or structure. So when you're first starting your colony, which is something I didn't get to show you because we were on Shasta, which is already full, then you click on add industry or structure. It's going to give you a list of everything that is available to you for this colony. This is the proverbial grayed out. So this is a station. It's specifically for mining. So this is part of the terraforming and stations mod. Farming, which is an industry that's vanilla, is not available on. So for farming to be available, so industries in general need some condition relative to them. So farming would be farmland. Makes perfect sense, right? So this one is grayed out or oranged out in this case because, so it's yellow. I have an industry slot available, as you see down here. I've got 7 used. I've got 10 available. Now, this is not vanilla. There's a change. So here we go. You can see where things were at. Now, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 technically are achievable. But there's no base data for it in the game. So in the game, it's built to stop at 10. But I changed my settings to say you could technically get to a colony size of 15. But I don't think that's possible. I think the hard coding in the game does not actually let you go above 10. But we'll show you where you can look at what percentage you're at in the goal to the next level. I'll show you that here in a minute. So industry is yellow. Industry is yellow because I'm only using 7 of 10 industries. I have 10 industries available. I'm using 7, which means I have 3 industries left, which is why the industry in this case is still yellow. It says I could build that if I have room. If I have room, I can build that. Otherwise, that's going to also be orange, which says you don't have any more industry slots. Nope, sorry. So in this case, domain archaeology is oranged out. I'll go ahead and say that. Oranged out because if we look over in the information page, it says requires ruins. A station, which could be anywhere, does not have ruins, therefore not applicable here. Does not have farmland, so farmland is not applicable. It is not irradiated, so the magnetoshield is not applicable. This is not a gas giant, so can't use that. Is not hovering over a planet, so we can't use that. Shipworks, I haven't played with this one yet, but this is, I think, a place where you can break down ships if you want to, so scrapping ships. Supercomputer adds to your commerce. Okay, so the things that you are trading. So you can only build a supercomputer on a cold or very cold planet. It will chew through AI cores, so you have to have some AI cores to feed into this thing. If you're on a very cold planet, they will last about 18 cycles, which is to say 18 months before they burn out, 500 and something days. So you have to constantly replace them. That's an alpha core. Beta core is less, and a gamma core is much less. So you have to, it uses it until it kills it, and then it shuts down, unless you have a bunch there. Tech mining, like we saw on Shasta, tech mining is where you have ruins, and they're like the archaeologists for your ruins. Okay, so it just takes advantage of those things. So in this case, these are all the things that are unavailable and why they're unavailable on a station. If they're white, then they are available to you. If it's industry, it's saying you need an industry slot to use that. So in this case, these are all part of the industrial mod, industrial evolution mod, industrial evolution, industrial evolution, industrial evolution. Expanded station or expand station is only available on stations, which is part of the terraforming and stations mod. Fuel production is vanilla. Hydroponics is, I think that's part of the the stations mod, the terraforming and stations mod. Junkyard resource forge is from the Junkyard Dogs mod. Kletka simulations generates AIs. It needs the domain era artifacts, which you get from the domain archaeology thing. Light industry is vanilla. light industry. So we take organics and we make domestic goods, luxury goods, and drugs. Requisition Center is part of the industrial evolution. It basically lets you get specific items. So it's a I want this, I can't get this anywhere, get it for me. That's what that is. Restoration docks. Restoration docks also part of the industrial evolution mod, and it basically you can take a vessel that you have either captured or inherited in some way, and it has what they call demods or detrimental mods, and the restoration docks will slowly remove those at, they say, a fraction of, which is true, but much less than if you just press restore on your refit screen. And I'll show you some of that in a few minutes. Reuter dives. So just add some bars and stuff to. So many Reuters favor this colony's bars and other sorted establishments in smoky back rooms that cut deals and organize ventures. So you can build a Reuter bar. Salvage yards. If I throw stuff in there, it's going to rip it apart. Okay, so Senate. I played with this a little bit and ultimately took it off, mostly because it absolutely adds another element to the game, more on the diplomacy side. But you can, through the Senate, you enable the functionality of issuing edicts, which basically control certain aspects of your colonies. And you can, it affects all the colonies in the system. So any colonies that you have in the system, you can only have one Senate. So wherever that Senate is, in this case it would likely be on Shasta, but wherever it is, then you can enact edicts to control specific elements of colonies. So variable assembler, I'll just read what it says. A small autonomous production line with an output depending on the installed chipset. So you literally find a chip, plug it in, I can make those, pull the chip, add another chip. So basically it's a specialized mechanism for making certain things. World symbols. Humanity has created wonders since the first inception of architecture, be it through scale or meaning. The structures in this group represent such efforts, symbols of will and preservation of a decaying sector. What does this really do for you? Gives you a story point. So for every one of these you build, you get a story point. This is also part of the industrial evolution mod. Senate, was also part of that. Variable assembler, I think, is also part of that one. So, okay, so those are all the things, kind of how you build stuff. Now, one of the things, let's go ahead and look at Expand Station here. Now, why is Expand Station 3.2 million? Because I've already got 5 of them. So it goes up progressively. Oh, sorry. Let me dismiss. We'll come back into that. Okay, so I have already, if we look down towards the bottom, the third paragraph there, it says the number of times this station has been expanded, 5. The reason for that was population growth reduction at this station begins at market size 10, or population size. In this case, colony size and market size are synonymous. Okay, so you'll hear different references to those particular numbers, but always remember market size, which is kind of an internal reference, versus colony size. They're the same. They're talking about the same number. They're talking about the same figure. They're just called colony size over here, and we call it market size over here. So anyway, for what that's worth. So anyway, what I wanted to do is have the ability for the stations to grow to the maximum before they start really having problems. So in this case, you can add as many station expansions to get you to 10, but you can't go beyond 10. So if I added a 6th expansion, it would actually roll to 0. Tried that. Got there. So anyway, so briefly, let's go back into here. So these are the costs associated with building those items. Now, catch number 1. You only have X number of items. So in this case, we have page 1, which is 12, and we have page 2, which is 12. The second page is given to us by the Grand Colonies mod. It is a mod. Okay, gets you that second page. So in the vanilla game, you can only build 12 of these. So you have to be very selective at what you're building. So if you're playing pure vanilla, you're never going to see that 1.5 million. Never. Okay, so this is because of the Grand Colonies. You can really go above and beyond what the vanilla game lets you do. So you can build all profit makers, and you're going to have a whole bunch of credits every month. So you're limited to 12 in vanilla. Grand Colonies gives you the limit of 24 to use there. So when I'm building something, I select what I want to build, click, left click, and then I have the option to build. If I build, it's going to, let's just go ahead and do it. Oh, okay. So it's yellow that says we can build this, we have it available. It cost me 300,000 credits to build that. So as you are building your colonies, it's going to cost you a certain amount of money, but it's always going to tell you, so because it didn't even start here, I'm going to get that back. It's always going to tell you how much it's going to cost you. So you may have to do some more commerce, you may have to do some more jobs, some freelancing jobs to earn this money. I've found that bounties are the most plentiful and also extremely profitable. So I've seen bounties that are in the 200,000 range, but you'll have to search. They give you a general ballpark. Hey, this person was last seen here, and this is what their fleet looked like. And they usually have a 5 or 6 ship fleet, maybe a 7 or 8 ship fleet, and they give you they were last seen in the vicinity of this particular star. So you go there, and there may be 4 stars in that cluster. So you're going to have to look in here, you're going to have to go over here and look in here, you're going to have to go, so it may take some effort and time. All the bounties have a time limit, and hopefully we'll jump into that as well. Hopefully we'll have time. So, building your colony. Everything has a cost. Understanding what the cost is obviously a function of how much money do you actually have. So, if we see down here with credits at the very bottom left-hand portion of the screen, bottom left, you'll see the number of credits I have. It's more than it would cost to build this particular structure, therefore it's yellow. Build time is in days. Okay, so when you click that, that's how many days it's going to take from today to complete that. Obviously not real days, it's game days, which go by very fast. It takes about 10 seconds for a day to go by. So it's not very long. So 60 would be, I don't know, half hour maybe. I don't know. I don't know how they get. I don't know exactly how many seconds it is for a day, but it's not very many, 5 or 10 seconds. So anyway, that's what this screen will let you do. Add industries. So dismiss. Add industries and structure. So as long as you have slots available, you can build. Otherwise, let me go back over here and so you see this is grayed out. And it actually says maximum numbers of industries reached. It's not just about industries, it's about industry or structure. So it's about slots on this window. Hazard pay. Let's go ahead and look at that. Hazard pay and other financial incentives or investments meant to drive increased immigration to this colony. So this is when that hazard rating is pretty severe, then you want to get that hazard pay in there so it kind of gives the incentive for growth. Otherwise, you're in a negative number. People are leaving. You don't want to do that. Freeport is Freeport. Now, you can add hazard pay or remove hazard pay at any time. It will change the growth accordingly. Freeport, same thing as it says here. The Freeport has reduced stability, which we saw. We talked about that in the previous episode. But increased accessibility. So there's pluses, there's minuses. Reduced stability, that's your minus. Increased accessibility is obviously a plus. It also benefits from gradually increasing the population growth as the reputation of the port spreads. So it's a variable thing. It says here, if the Freeport status is revoked, the bonus population growth will be reset to its starting value on exiting the screen. So the population growth will go backwards to whatever it was when it started. That does not necessarily mean your colony size is going to instantly revert. It will not. Your growth will go down. If your growth goes into the negative, then your colony size will eventually decrease. Okay, we talked about this total growth before. So in this case, I am at colony size 7. You see on my population infrastructure, it says total growth 51%, meaning I am 51% of the way to colony size 8. Okay, so this is where you can see that growth figure. Now there was somewhere else you could see that too, and I'm going to see if I can find it. Colonies. If we look at size, so we were on mining station 1. Okay, so we can directly reference that same figure in this screen, your colony screen, which you can do from anywhere. By being on the colony screen, I can only do that there. Now, technically, you can go in from remote and view certain information, but you don't have a lot of flexibility. So this is where you can see that. So here we see under size, it's size 7. That 51% in parentheses actually says I'm 51% of my way to the next one, which happens to be 8 in this case. So you can see even with colony size 10, it says 20%. But interestingly enough, that's all it says, 20%. So if it said 21% or 25% or 37% or something like that, it would make me believe that maybe I could actually get to colony size 11, but I've never seen that happen. So it may be another one of those hard-coded things that you get to 20% and then it just says, not going to go anywhere. All right, so back to where we were. Back into my manage. So we get to see where that is. So 51%, which we can directly correlate. We can also see that on another page. So just so you know. Okay, what are we seeing up here? We're seeing the conditions. The only conditions, this is a mining station. So the only thing it's going to be able to do is get me rich ores or rare ores. And whether it's rich or something less than rich is about the number of bands, the number of asteroid belts, and belt is relative in this particular system. Okay. So mining drones are the only place that we can use mining drones is on a mining station. If we go to the second page, I want to show you asteroid processing. So asteroid processing, crashing asteroids rich in water ice into planets is an effective means of terraforming. So if I have a desert planet or a planet that has no water, a barren planet, for example, then I can use this functionality to bring ice to that planet to add water to the planet. So this is part of the terraforming functionality. So if you have no way to bring water to a planet by one method or another, you can't terraform into a Terran-habitable planet. Okay, so that's the So is this useless? Yes, because I'm not terraforming in that manner anymore, and it's still costing me money every month. But it's nice to have for when you were terraforming. I'm no longer terraforming, so got all those where they need to go. Okay, I didn't talk about these previously, so let me go ahead and touch on these really quick. The Interstellar Relay is an upgrade from the Military Relay. What does the Military Relay do? The Military Relay says this colony produces, if you look at my fleets, is 650%. If I have a fleet that is 20%, then if both of them have a military relay, I can share fleets between colonies instantly. Same system though. Okay. So the idea is that I don't necessarily have to build defenses on this one because they can borrow from that one. Okay. Interstellar Relay, as long as I have an interstellar relay on one of my colonies on this star system, I can share with colonies of other star systems that are mine, as long as I have an interstellar relay over there. So as long as I have an interstellar relay, I can now share military fleets between colonies in different star systems. So this is definitely to your advantage. Interstellar Relay, I think, is part of the Industrial Evolution mod. So Military Relay and Interstellar Relay will let you share your military fleets with less equipped colonies. Courier port. I can set up contracts to deliver from here to there, as long as I have a courier port there. Okay, so that it just lets you set up. So these they cost me money. I don't really use them, but you can set up contracts between them and make some money. Cost you a little bit for shipping, but in the end, you can sell some stuff. So just aids you with commerce and trade. Privateer port. The long and short of this one is this is basically your own pirate group that gives them something semi-legal to do. So they will stage raids on factions and faction colonies that are not friendly to you. So as long as you have folks that are not friendly, these guys will auto raid. They will set up the raids and then go pull it off, and then you get the trade value of the items that they bring back. So directly proportional to the amount of trade items they bring. So good and bad. Does not necessarily help your relationship with those folks who are pissed off at you, but hey, it's coin in your pocket, right? So that's what these guys are. Commerce is commerce. We talked about that. So that's the only other ones that we saw previously that we did not describe. Okay, let's jump out of here. Let's talk a little bit more about so comms directory. Let's go ahead and go there. May or may not have anybody. Yeah, we got a whole lot of people here. So Mercenary Officer is Mercenary Officer. So you can hire them, and they have a contract for a certain period of time. Freelance Administrator. So whenever you see freelance, it means you can hire them, and they then come to work for you for as long as you're paying. So basically, this is where you hire that sort of a person. Quartermaster, that is, they are responsible for this station. Now, some of these folks, like the secretary, like the station commander, like the base commander, all of these guys have the potential of having work for you. Transfer this market to another faction. Grant autonomy. Oh, so, okay. Maybe not. But there are options with all of these folks, and just understanding what what you can do. So let's go back in here. Let's see what the base commander, transfer this market to. Oh, it's the same thing. Darn it. You have this option on every colony. So let's go ahead and go down there. So in this case, we have 3 options besides leave. So this is a quest. Okay, so if you pick number 1, it is a quest. It may be short, it may be long, but it's a single, go here, do this. Same thing, this actually describes what it's doing. Talk to a man from a military offering bounties. That's going to be a bounty hunt. Talk to the colonel at a private table. Could be anything. Okay, so this is where you pick up these little quests to go do something, which can get you money. Okay. So the idea here is that, yes, you can get stuff to do. It's built right into the game. But you still need to be concerned with the amount of crew you have relative to the size of fleet you have. How about your fuel? Got to have fuel. Got to have supplies. Okay, so all of those things are relevant to your fleet at any given moment. If you don't have fuel and supplies, it's going to be hard to get to where they need you to get to. So money buys you supplies, very possibly buys you fuel, all that sort of thing. So it takes money to make money. Still true in this game. So when you're first starting, I found it to be really frustrating because you would get not 5 or 6 light years down the road in whatever journey and discover you're running low on stuff, and you're exploring. So you have no idea, I can go here and get stuff. And you can then plan your waypoint as you're going from one side of the sector to the other. You don't have that luxury when you're first starting. So understanding how much fuel you need and how much supplies you need, and balance that with the amount of cargo space you have and fuel space you have. So you want to buy a freighter, you want to buy a tanker, and get all these things available to you to give you some more flexibility. You're going to need these things as you're first playing, so consider that. And I'm at 50 minutes right now. We're going to go ahead and roll this one into the 2-hour like we did the last one, because I think we will, because there's just a lot of stuff to understanding the core of the game. So you will find this same, I'm going to go ahead and leave. You will find this same menu at other faction colonies. So this isn't just something you will see. So if you can go in and trade at any colony, you will also have the ability to open the comms and take a shuttle. So you can get small quests from any colony that you're friendly with, any colony that you can trade with. Manage colony says trade. If you're at another faction's colony, it'll just say trade there. So manage in this case is because it's my colony, so I can manage it. At the other colonies, you're going to see trade, and we'll do that. We'll take a trip somewhere and do that, just so we can show you some of the more things. Okay, let's go back out to space, and let's go ahead and go across everything. Character is you. Okay, this is where you set up your skills, and I'm not going to show it to you because I'm running the levels mod, and so you can go way beyond what you could possibly imagine. So I'm not going to go in there. It's going to look the same for everybody. You have skill points, which you can spend on particular skills. It makes sense, skill points. It also lists your story points. You earn story points as you go along. So for every level, you will gain 4 story points. You can use your story points for different things in the game, bribery, whatever. There's a variety of different uses for the story points. So you collect story points as you go along. So fleet, let's look at the fleet. I have a very small fleet. Why do I have a very small fleet? Because I have a very capable fleet. In fact, this ship doesn't really do me any good. It was just I got into a battle with the Remnant, and that was the ship that I collected, and I haven't sold it off. You can only sell the Remnant stuff at black markets, so be aware of that, and it may hurt your reputation elsewhere. So, what do we have? Well, I have a Tiger Freighter, so that is my flagship in this case. And I have a salvage rig. Okay, so that way I can do everything I need to in the game. The salvage rig in this case is armed. It will not normally go into battle with me, although it can. But for the most part, it is just a utility ship. It does have cargo and fuel capability, little bit. So this guy will cost you $80,000 if you can find it. So not necessarily a good starter ship because it's hard to find, but it's out there. Not starter ship from the perspective of you can put a little bit of armaments on here, but not necessarily enough to go into a large fleet and do any sort of damage. This guy is totally OP. It was intended to be OP. So you've got a bunch of capabilities, you've got a bunch of turrets, and you've got just a boatload, as you can see here on the bottom left of the screen. You've got a boatload of capability there. So let's this is your fleet. I kind of want to say management page, but it's more of a global kind of a thing, just very, very broad strokes here. You can't get granular here. But a couple of things that you can do, and we'll show you here so you can just see them, because we can see them underneath this one. The question mark in this case is the information window. So that brings up the information window about this vessel, all of the gory details, including all the hull mods that are on it, that sort of thing. Everything is there. What the armaments are, everything. The next one is scuttle. So what does scuttle mean? I'm going to strip everything. Everything that's useful is coming off of it, and then I'm going to scrap it. So I'm going to get 46 supplies, 46 fuel, and 11 heavy machinery. Okay, great stuff. Mothball. Okay, I am going to hold them in my fleet, meaning they will be there with me, but mothballing a ship will reduce its combat readiness to 0. Restoring it will require time and supplies. So if I mothball it, I don't necessarily strip it, but it is not ready for combat. So it stays in my fleet. It doesn't cost me hardly anything. So in this case, mothballed ships can't be used in combat or repaired, and do not provide any fuel, cargo, or personnel capacity. In other words, they're there, but they're not there. Okay, so it's kind of I hate to say a convenient storage methodology, because it isn't, but it is. It does cost you resources to fix it when you're ready to bring it back into your active fleet, but okay, so mothball. And suspend repairs and recovery. So if for whatever reason I am repairing this ship, this is the stop button. Refit. So I go to the refit window, which we'll get there in a moment. This just takes you there for this individual ship, and then comes back to this one. So that's what those 5 buttons are. And you will see some other buttons. There will be a down arrow, so it looks a lot like this one, but it's a down-facing arrow that is storage, and you can store it in a variety of places. So you can store it at your main colony, that sort of thing, but you'll see that arrow. It'll be a little different, but it'll be an arrow, and you will see store. There's also a credit flag, which will only see... Okay, sorry. Let me show you rather than tell you. Go into the colony. Okay, open market. As long as you have an open market, we'll be able to see some of this stuff. So let me go. You're in the colony. in a colony, whether it be yours or someone else's. I'm going to go into fleet. So the F button in this case, and we see now the sell this ship. Okay. Now the sell is because I am on open market right now. So sell open market. If I go into storage, this is my storage. And so you see open market grays out, my storage goes handy, and you see the same arrow, but it says store. Okay, so this is storing that particular ship. So I could store this ship or I could sell this ship. And in the case of open market, because it's not a black market, I cannot sell a Revenant ship. Okay, so it says illegal to sell, but I could sell either one of these. So understanding where all these different buttons are, I can sell this ship on a black market, not an open market. So any colony that has the black market available, you can sell this ship, which I just haven't done yet. We'll probably do that. All right, so knowing where those little things are, in fact, let's stay here for the demonstration of the refit. So refit, this is your ship. This is your fleet list in the order you placed it in the fleet page. Okay, let me demonstrate what I just said. Okay, so let's say I want to move the Revenant ship to the number 2 slot. So I'm going to stick that there, and I'm going to stick that one there. So now it's 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so let's go to refit. And you'll notice the change instantly. Now we have this listed in the same order that you placed it in the fleet list. Okay, so we'll go back and move that back. Okay, so back to where it was. Okay, refit. We can do a lot of things in here. So you see this is our monster. Okay, so you see all the turrets here, but how do I get in and change any of this stuff? And what does all this stuff on the screen mean? So there's a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube that tells you about what all this stuff is. Fighter bays. This is where you select your fighters. How do I do that? Well, if I right click, I delete it. If I left click, I get a list that says this is what you can add in there. So these are the ones I can buy. These are the ones I have. Okay, so in this case, I had a spark interceptor is what was in there. Okay, so this is what you put in all of your bays. In this case, I have 12 bays. Pretty obvious from the screen, right? 12 bays. This is what I want to put in there. Why are they mixed like that? Because. Okay. Okay, combat readiness. Combat readiness is the overall readiness of this ship right now. Okay, so combat readiness, obviously you want it higher if you're going to go into combat with it. In this case, it's 100%. So I'm all good to go. I can roll right into the next combat, not have to worry about anything. Obviously, as your combat readiness declines, you're going to have more and more problems. So if you take a hit and your combat readiness is less than 100%, then that hit could actually cause some physical damage to your ship. Those damages are going to show up ultimately as a DMOD, okay, a damage mod. So they're going to add some problem to the ship that is going to be really hard to get rid of unless you can find a shipyard somewhere. Okay, so understanding what those do. So the idea is you want your combat readiness. The picture, that's me in this case. So this is your avatar. Okay, so this is who is in command of this ship. Now, of course, everybody knows I'm Navy, right? So a captain of a ship is not going to be in command of a fleet. He's in command of the ship. So the appropriate title for me in this case, even though the game refers to you as captain, is really admiral or general if you're more familiar with ground troops and that sort of thing. So, but anyway, the unique thing is that you as the captain of this ship are actually in command of your entire fleet. So kind of an interesting conflict there. That side. So combat readiness up here, you who is in command of this ship. So, for example, this guy is in command of this ship. Okay? So, me versus the other guy versus this doesn't actually have a command. Mostly because I stole the AI out of it when I fought it. So, this is empty. So this is utterly useless in a battle. All energy except for hybrid. We talked about this in the last evolution. This is an energy turret, and this is a synergy. So got one fighter bay, so we can put something in there. We could actually take this ship, put somebody in command. Install an AI core. So this is a drone ship. It has to have an AI, but it will do what you tell it to do. So you own it now. It is friendly. The AI is friendly to you. So you can use these ships once you get them in there. Capacitors are about flux capacity. Everything generates flux, be it just driving around, weapons especially, and shields. All develop flux. So the amount of flux you can develop without it being a problem is relative to the capacitors. Okay. Vents. How do I get rid of flux? That's what the vents are all about. So in this case, the flux capacity of this vessel is 11,000. So before I reach 100% capacity, I'm going to have 11,000 flux points, whatever those happen to be. Whatever's generating those, be it shields, movement, or weapons. Flux dissipation. So for every game cycle, which I don't know how long that is, a second, maybe, whatever, I can dissipate 660 flux. So if I'm just traveling and I'm generating 400 flux, then I'm literally getting rid of more than I'm generating, which means I'm at a relative zero. So no biggie. But the second I start exceeding this, then it becomes an issue of the flux capacity before I have to get rid of this shit. Okay, so you've got to keep those numbers in mind. The shield arc, 270 degrees, that's important because something could fly up your butt. Okay, so you want to keep in mind what your shield arc is. Shield flux per second, so we can dissipate 660, but my shield flux per second is 300, which means I can maintain. The problem is the shields generate what they call hard flux versus soft flux, so you have to keep in mind what your hard flux, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on what those two are, but keep in mind there is hard flux. Hard flux is a hard limit. In other words, I have to drop my shields and vent flux for me to get rid of hard flux. Okay, so I can get rid of a certain amount, but anything that is generating hard flux, I cannot get rid of while my shields are up. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is an automated ship, so it's one of the hull features. So hull features, I'm going to use this ship as the example, even though this is not an ideal example. Okay, so I can put things on here. Any of these that you see listed as a dock can only be added or subtracted while you're at a dock, which is to say a colony that you're friendly with. Okay, I'm just going to use a couple of these as an example so we can demonstrate something else. You can never go wrong with blast doors. Okay, this is a functionality. If you mouse over all these, you see a window that comes up over on the side, an information window. Installs additional hermetic and heavily reinforced doors at critical junctures throughout the ship. Increases hull integrity by 20%. Okay, so it tells you everything. The hull mod tells you everything that it does and why it's to your advantage. Now, at the top over there you see 15 of 140. I'm going to unclick this and watch what happens. Okay, that goes back to 0. So what is this? We talked about damn it, Ordnance Points. Sorry, I was thinking I had a C stuck in my head. Ordnance Points. In this case, this vessel has 140 Ordnance Points, and like I had said, I babbled quite a bit about it in the other one, that you have a very finite number of Ordnance Points that you can use. When you have exceeded that, then that's it, which isn't really an exceed because you can't. You have 140, I can use 140. But once I reach 140, I'm done. There's two things that will consume Ordnance Points: hull mods and weapons. Now keep in mind, this thing doesn't have any weapons on it. And the one hull mod is built in because it's an automated ship, so you can't get rid of that one. So just for demonstration here, blast doors, and I'm going down, I'm going to find reinforced bulkheads. Okay, so these are integrity issues. Okay, so build in. So I could take any given ship and have reinforced bulkheads in this case. So let's watch what happens. So both of those cost me 15 Ordnance Points. They are hull mods. Okay, I can add them, I can subtract them. In some cases, if I happen to be if it's listed as a dock, I have to do that at a friendly dock, be it mine or an ally. So keep in mind what that is. Okay, so 15 points. Now keep in mind that 140, so I've got 110 left. But let's go to build. Build, as it says here, I can use story points to build hull mods into the ship, reducing their Ordnance Point cost to 0 and making them unremovable. So I can no longer add them or subtract them. But they no longer cost me Ordnance Points either. So let's demonstrate. I'm going to go in there. I've got a shitload. Yes, I cheated. I'm going to change this into a built-in and this one into a built-in. Okay, 2 of 3. So I could add another one in there, but not, because we're just demonstrating. And you see, this goes to 0, which means I'm using none. So 15 and 15, build them in, I use 0, which means I go back to 0 use. So now I have that feature, but I don't have the cost. Okay, but the downside is now they're built in. So I'm using story points. That cost me story points. I'll never get those back. Confirm. Okay, so now it adds it in here, but I'm not using story points. So the built-in mods are handy because you get the functionality, but they didn't cost you Ordnance Points to do that. Weapons cost you Ordnance Points as well. So if we click, left click, medium hybrid, it's going to show me everything that is available that I know. Okay, so if I don't know it, it's not going to show up in this list. So I either have it in my inventory, which are the black ones, or I have them available through trade, which are these. So in this case, there's 4 available. They're going to cost me X number of credits, so I have to buy them, but I can do that on the fly. Whereas this one is actually in my cargo hold somewhere. Okay, so if I want to put that on there, now here's the trick. It's going to cost me 7 Ordnance Points to put that on. The more fancy weaponry is going to cost me more. So you see the Eshwal projector, whatever that happens to be. Long range pressure, not sure what that means. Range 900 versus range 700. So more capable means more Ordnance Points. Okay, so you have to pay attention to all these things. Again, you have 140 to choose from. I'm using virtually a tenth of my Ordnance Points on one weapon. So judiciously balancing everything out to not exceed the capabilities of your ship. So shipbuilding at its finest, you have to understand what those ordnance points are. Those ordnance points are a limitation. I'm not going to go into all the fine nuances, so let's go ahead and put that on because we have it. So you see we spent 7 points. The hull mods, kind of the same thing. You're going to have to go through all of these, and there's different mods that will actually add these. For instance, Junkyard Dog. Okay, that mod actually adds these hull mods as part of the mods. Junkyard Dog, Junkyard Dog. So you see a lot of these down here. Diable Avionics. So this is a hull mod that is added by that mod. So understanding what those are, they give you a number. This is how much in Ordnance Points it's going to cost you. And you have to make the judicial decision on what do I want to do versus what I can do. Now, there's ways around this. So let me go ahead and do that. I don't normally, talk about cheats in the game. But so let's, I'm in the game. How do you get into this? So if you add the console mod, which basically unlocks the console for you, is a control backspace to get into it. And hey, look at there. Add. Now, ordnance is spelled wrong. Okay, so this is, I'm going OCD on you. Ordnance is ordnance. Ordinance. Ordnance. In this case, it's ordnance. There's no I. Okay, and you can actually see that up here. So let me go out of here. That's an escape. Okay, Ordnance Points. Okay, so this is my quirky. So ordnance is what you want to use in the case of. So add ordnance points. Okay, I know you can barely see that because I'm UHD. So add ordnance points, all one word, and then tell it how many you want to add. So in this case, normally when I first start the game, I put this in. Now, why do I do that? Because I really like just putting everything I want on any given ship. To me, playing a game is about making it fun, and your definition of fun is going to be different than mine. But so add ordnance points. 2,000 in this case is plenty for virtually any ship that you're going to have. So what does it say here? Add ordnance points. You get to see the command as I typed it. All ships in your fleet now have 2,000 extra ordnance points. Use add ordnance points clear to remove this bonus. So these are just things that are available in the console. So escape will get out of that and back into the game. Control backspace is your console. Okay. So what do we see here? Did it work? It looks like it didn't work. But it actually did. Because if you look on this screen, you see it says 2140. Now, how do we make all of it update? So let's briefly, we're going to go into Fleet and back into Refit and then back into Add. And you're going to see it updated up here. So there's these little quirky things that when you're cheating, you have to work around the game basically not liking you cheating. So it does show up. They are there, but to make your screen refresh, you kind of have to go out of that screen and back into your screen. So anyway, all these things that you can do. Now we can pretty much fully deck out this ship however we want. Use all of these available to us, all mods. Whatever we want to do, add all the weapons instead of just a few, and do the highest level weapons we want to do. So all of that you can do in here. So this is your ship building screen. Refit R on your menu. Okay, so we did fleet, which just is general information about your fleet, organizing your fleet, changing the order of your fleet, that sort of thing. Refit is where you can go and get nuclear on your vessels, do anything you want to them. As you can see on this screen, it's extremely granular. You are limited only by the number of ordnance points you have and the weapons you have. You're going to gain weapons in every battle, in every cleanup. You're going to gain weapons. They may not be what you want, but there's weapons out there. So you can literally outfit your ships for free as you go along, one little piece at a time. You just have to have the patience. Eventually you can say, I don't want that anymore, so I'm going to strip this down, and there's a convenient button. Let me go back. Strip. Okay, so we have, this is on here, so we just mouse over it, and it actually shows us what that weapon is and its characteristics and everything. And if we press the strip button, it strips off all the hull mods and all the weapons. It's down to the brand new, fresh, clean out of the box ship again. You can either sell it like that or whatever. But in the end, if you want to fully refit a ship and you're just like, okay, I don't want to take all this shit off, press strip and it does it all for you. But keep in mind, it will strip off everything but the built-ins. Everything. All of your weapons, gone. All of your hull mods, gone. Except for the built-ins. Those are the only ones that will stay. So keep that in mind. What all this stuff. Auto-fit, it just adds shit on at random. So it's kind of a convenient way to do that. You can set it up, upgrade weapons using extra OP, absolutely. Always add reinforced, always add blast doors. It's always a good idea because that is a hull integrity thing. Okay, so spend the points. Yeah, let's do that. And it's going to add stuff on there. You can see how it changed everything. It's going to go to the max of capacitors and vents. It's going to put it all on there. Everything that it can fit, it's going to do it. Poop, auto, done. Okay, so kind of nice features built in. So built-ins takes whatever hull mods you have already assigned, and you can build them in with the use of story points. All right, definitely spent enough time on that screen, huh? Okay, let's move around. Let's figure out, for example, so we have this inner jump point. What is a jump point? A jump point is the location of the point in space that you can transit to hyperspace or from hyperspace. So if it's from hyperspace, you're going from hyperspace to a system. If you're in a system, it's from that system to hyperspace. Okay, let me do a save. Fast save is a F5, fast save F5. If you totally die, something happened, oops, and you want to fast load, it's an F9. F9 fast load. Be careful because you may actually not want to do that sometimes. It's like you're 16 colonies in and you have not saved for a long time. So what does autosave do for you? Does it actually autosave? No, it does not. It puts up the little warning on your screen so you can see, hey, it's been X number of minutes since you saved. Maybe you should save. But if you don't see it or you ignore it, doesn't help you any. You still have to press the F5 button. So this is actually demonstrating one of the things that eventually the game has some memory leaks still. And it may not just be the game, it's anything that's executing, which means any number of your mods could have, leaks. But in the end, eventually you will get to this point where it just takes forever to do something. And I don't think it's locked up, but it might be. So as you play, your frame rate will slowly drop as the memory leak takes over. So we may not be recoverable here, folks. I may. Graphics card overhead limit. Yeah, sure. That it's not really a big deal because I haven't done anything, so Yeah, the last time. We'll try again, but I don't know what the GC actually means, but it's a game error. There's, as I babbled about before, my machine is a very high-end machine. There's no such thing as a graphics card. There's two, I'm a little bit older machines, but two 1080 Ti's that are running side by side. So there's not a graphics card issue. There's not a graphics card driver issue. This is a game issue. And because the game has been running all day, then, yeah, so I'm going to have to go out. Actually, it hasn't been running all day because we really just started at the beginning of the last episode. Unfortunately, this is not gonna. Alright, so hopefully we can just exit. Nope, okay. So what I'm doing off screen here, obviously I'm starting my task manager and I'm going down to StarSector, and we're gonna do a hard close on StarSector. Okay, there we go. And eventually we just get to that point where it dies. And eventually you also have the issues where, you need to reboot your machine. And I'm probably there as well because it's been running for quite a few days. So hopefully we will go right back in. It doesn't really matter where we are because I haven't really done any changes for this whole thing. This has been more just demonstrating. So where we're at, allow me to review. We are going to actually jump into hyperspace and go to a different sector so we can see what it's like to get to a colony. Now, one of the colonies that I want to go to is it's a free trade port, and the free trade port is part of the Nexarellan mod or mega mod, however you want to call it. So hopefully this is not good. It just loaded all the way. All right. So again, we start game paused. So we press space to unpause or space to pause, either one. We're going to bring up the map, which is tab. So we've gone through most everything here on the screen. Sorry, I'm going to change gears a little bit. Let's finish with what we have on the screen. So we talked about your command originally, which we saw this. So this is your income and your colonies, right? But you can also adjust your doctrine for your fleets deploying and that sort of thing. You can also custom create stuff. Okay, there's one thing that we did change. We changed this over to Shasta, and we actually built two of these guys. So let's confirm that order. So that's building now. I'm going to go ahead and do an F5 just in case. We'll see if it will actually work or whether we're at the point where we're going to have to rebuild. Nope, went all the way. Good. So that was just a game oops. But one of the things you'll see up in the top right corner, for example, is it shows you the frame rate. And you'll slowly, as you progress through battles and stuff like that, especially severe battles, you'll watch that go down. And unfortunately, it will never come back up. So eventually you want to just save, exit all the way out of the game, come back in, which will free up stuff again. So command, we talked about, blah, 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 all the stuff that you can do there. Intel, we did not talk about the Intel. Intel is everything going on, and I've got a couple mods loaded in that actually tells you, it takes informational stuff and dumps it into this log. This is everything that's going on. What are some of the important things? You're going to see a colony threats. That is a really important one for you to look at and make sure you're addressing everything that you need to address there. So if you have an invasion force coming, it will show in there. If you have a hegemony AI inspection coming in, it will show in that. You notice right now I do not have that on the list at the bottom there. And that's because my colonies are so well protected, as in all of the colonies have the shield on them. So it's really hard for anybody to infiltrate the shields. So I have less threats typically than I would in a normal game where I'm not using the planetary shields. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to see some stuff or not see some stuff that is because of where I'm at in the game. So local, what does local mean? Local means anything that's relevant to this star system where I am at. So let's look at that. So I have a gate. It is a scanned gate, which means I can use it. I have a comm sniffer in there. I have a warning beacon and a warning beacon. So the closest planet to the sun, which is an orange star, I'm sure some of you will find that humorous why I did that. There's a warning beacon on that planet, and the farthest out planet is also an irradiated planet. It has a warning beacon. So the beacons are there. So this is everything relevant to this solar system right now, and that could change. But, you know, you'll always have the gates. The gates will always be there. And it's nice to have, because as you're exploring, you may not see the gate. It's there. You may not see it. A lot of gates have debris fields surrounding them. So the gate will be lost in the debris field. But if you look under local here, under your intelligence, it will always be there. You will always see it. So the second you go into a system and it has a gate, it goes there. So you will always see it. You don't have to scan for it, anything, it's there. Okay, so that's one of the advantages, that it does that for you. You don't actually have to scan it. What the scanning is I go up to it and scan. This is in Nexarellan, it's actually unlocked for you. In the vanilla game, you have to go through what they call the Academy quests to get the Janus device, which ultimately lets you use the gates. So in this case, we bypass all of that because that's the function, one of the functions features of Nexarellan. You've completed all of those. You have the device already, all the gates are ready to go. But to use a gate, you have to scan the gate. And you literally drive up to it like you would a planet. Then options come up and it will say scan. Afterwards, the scan option becomes a use gate. And we'll show you some of that. In fact, we might as well use the gate for this time, and then we'll demonstrate the using the jump points to come back. So what does this mean as you see here on the screen? So that's a mouse wheel. I'm sorry. So rolling in and rolling out is your mouse wheel. All these little icons on the screen are whatever is over here. So this is an icon for what's here. Okay. So fleet log. What does fleet log show me? The production report. What is the production report showing me? I've got a production report from Tigris Siphon Station, which is actually over here. So if I have all of my colonies are right here in these two star systems. As you are exploring, you may find a favorable planet and you colonize it. You may or may not at some later date abandon it and move to somewhere else, take all your resources and get the hell out, or it's invaded and taken over. So that's a very real possibility. So all of mine ended up here. I traveled around, just did exploring for a long time, making money. But remember, your fleet costs you money. Your fleet does not make you money. Your fleet is always a cost The idea is to do enough bounty jobs, enough auxiliary side jobs to pay all your expenses and get ahead to the point where you can actually afford to found a colony. Now, one of the options of Nexarellan is to actually start out on a colony. And the advantage there is I think you're a 4. So your colony size 4, you've got several industries, you're making money. So it's kind of a leap ahead. It does give you a lot of advantages. And you can always abandon it later. Now, here's the catch. It has to be 4 or below to abandon. So if you're at, excuse me, if you're at a 5 or above, you cannot abandon. It could be invaded, but, and there's not really any reason to abandon other than traveling to there takes time, money, fuel, and supplies, right? Okay, that's the only cost there. It all goes into the coffers the same. It doesn't matter where on the sector map it is. So for what that's worth. Okay, so what is this telling me? I've moused over this one, and it's telling me, what is it telling me? All of my colonies. So you see here markets. Markets and colonies are synonymous in this case. Okay, so those are all of my colonies in the Bengali Tigris star system. So we have the Siphon Station, Astropolis Alpha, which is just a station, and I could rename that to whatever. We can show you where that is. Tigris, which is the planet, and Kriska, which is another planet. Okay, so all of those are there. I'm currently terraforming Kriska. Eventually, I want to turn that into a completely habitable Terran world. It's going to take some time. Unsurveyed, none. Preliminary survey data, none, because I'm full surveyed. Okay, so that star system is fully surveyed now. So you'll eventually drop to 0, 0, and however many there are. If the bottom is a 0, then it just means there are no planets in that solar system, and there's a lot of those. So you'll find those. Navigation data. What does that mean? From where I am, this is how much it will cost at base levels, because there's always variables, to get from here to there. Okay, so in this case, 2.1 light years away. At base burn level, it's going to be 2.1 days, so 1 day per light year, which is kind of cool. And it's going to cost me 47 fuel. Now, it doesn't document how many supplies I'm going to need. Fuel and supplies are directly related to the size of my fleet. Okay, so obviously a larger fleet is going to need more fuel. A larger fleet is going to need more supplies. So it doesn't tell you about supplies here. So if I'm working on this particular journey, then I'm going to need X number of supplies and that much fuel just to make that trip. And that's at base levels, which means you should carry twice that with you because you never know what's going to happen. It slows you down going through any nebula, which means more fuel because it took you longer to get there. If you get stuck in I can't remember what they're called now, a slipstream that you find in hyperspace, then it will cost you more fuel because the slipstream is going to take you where it takes you. And you may have to expend the fuel to get from where it dumped you out or where you escaped it back to where you were and then onwards towards the planet. So this is a base estimate. Don't ever travel with just that. You will run out. Okay? So use this as double it at best. Okay? So that's your guide. Okay, what other things do we have here? Bounties. So any of the bounties that have been listed in the system, there they are. So we can see there's quite a few really good ones. So what does this mean? What is the bounty? The bounty is hegemony ships, 500 base reward per frigate. So we can click on this and it will show you what's going on. So the hegemony has done a faction bounty against me. Likely triggered because... Oh, it doesn't say. So the problem with the hegemony, so I haven't actually done anything to them. Well, that's not true. So I use AIs. They don't like AIs. So they decided upon themselves, this is part of the base game, they are the AI police. So they're going to come in and do an AI inspection. Now, I'm not affiliated with them. This is me. I'm not affiliated with you. What gives you the right to say, well, you can't use those? No. You don't get to do that. I don't give a shit who you are. You know, you are you and I am me. You don't get to police me. I police me. That's fine. But I'm looking out for the interests of my colony, not... You don't have any authority here. So they come in, attempt, I resist, kick the shit out of them, literally, and they get pissed off, and so my relationship with them goes down. So this is like the self-inflicted gunshot wound, and they keep putting pressure on it. So they'll eventually say, we would like a we would like a peace treaty, a ceasefire, and then things build up over time, and then eventually shit like this happens. So they either try to, either way, it's about they don't like me using AIs. And because they are absolutely not even a blip on my radar, especially at this point. I mean, you saw all the fleets I had buzzing around that one section. Just, they can send 1-2 fleets, and my fleets will stomp on them. I mean, utterly stomp on them. So they can't do anything. So they resorted into this. Okay, so on we go. This is a personal bounty. So faction bounty versus personal bounty versus system bounties. So personal bounty. The hegemony has posted a bounty to bring such and such to justice. They give you a reward and the number of days you have left. Okay, so some of these days may be extreme. Like, let's wander down here. So, pirate base. So, the pirate base is established somewhere in the Newton star system. So, conveniently, you do know where it is. Okay, and you have 81 days, and if you wipe out that base, now that doesn't mean you're just going to march in there and find out where it is. It's hidden. Very, very likely, it's hidden. So, you will have to investigate either using a neutron sense, neutron scanner, or float around looking for it. Now, 9 times out of 10, find the asteroid rings and follow the rings and scan. When your scan timer runs out, scan again. Scan timer runs out, scan again. And eventually you will find them. 9 times out of 10, they're either in the ring somewhere or around a planet. Those are the only 2 places they could be. Okay, they're not just out in the middle, floating somewhere with nothing there. They're either going to be orbiting. It's a station. They're either going to be orbiting a planet or hiding in the ring. Okay, either the rings. So they could be anyway. So you know the star system. Now you just have to narrow it down. But that's a really good reward. If you can take them on, that's a great reward. So, but remember, they might have a better fleet than you. So be careful. Pirate base, there's another pirate base. System bounty. What is this one about? Authorities, blah, 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 have posted a bounty on the hostile fleets in or near the star system. So anything in that star system for those guys are... so they're specifically going after no such organization, right? That's a mod as well. So just so you know, it gives you the extra information that Tritachyon is actually currently hostile to, and these are all the lists. And so there's a lot of information here. And then they'll also show you, in some cases, the bounties that are ended. So they're pulled off the table. They were either successful or not. Either way, they're ended. All right. What other things do we have here? Important. Now, this is always going to show up. This is Nexarellan here. But why ship insurance? Insurance is a scam. Insurance is a scam. So you can insure your fleet, but why? I mean, I guess there could be some advantages there. I don't know. I haven't used this. So new, in this case, is 0, nothing new. Story, this is always going to be here. If you have quests that are specific to the storyline, those are also going to show up here. But Milestone Tracker, what is it? So this is Nexarellan again. All the things that you have accomplished and all the things you haven't. I got to find some agents. And for some reason, I have not yet run into phase ships. I don't know if my game is tweaked, which is possible. So all the different milestones, and you can look at this. I highly recommend, I know I said this at the beginning just in passing, but I highly recommend, and I would recommend this for any game that you play vanilla. Learn the game mechanics, learn what is part of the game and what is not part of the game by playing vanilla. And you can play as long or as short as you want just to understand what the base game is all about. And at that point, I will start using mods and figure out what mods I like, which mods I don't. You'll find all kinds of those in both flavors. And work your way there. So all of this on the screen is any information of things that have happened or are happening, depending on where it is. Comm sniffers. I've got one comm sniffer. It happens to be, and I'm zoomed in here so it's not showing. My guess is that comm sniffer, is going to show up over here. Because I even though I own that communication satellite, I have a sniffer on it. The idea behind the sniffer is I can get to anything that's happening in that solar system. I'm sniffing it, so I can hear anything that's going on that is reportable locally to that sniffer. I get that information no matter where I am. So that's the advantage of the sniffer. Cryo Sleepers, what is that? Well, any Cryo Sleepers that I have discovered are going to show up on the map. And that one happens to be in Bengali Tiger. Decivilized, what does decivilized mean? If you reach, your colony is degrading, population is leaving, problems are happening, things are not working, you're going to get a deterioration warning. And you can go to, when you see these deterioration warnings show up, you can actually go to those colonies and give them supplies and food. Or maybe it's food and domestic. It might be food and domestic materials, domestic products, and you will help them. And you may prevent them from deteriorating further, whatever reason they're deteriorating. But so they have reached a 3, and when you get down to 2, then you will rapidly hit 1, and it will decolonize. Basically, the colony is defunct. So the colony has been destroyed, at which time it is decivilized. So, for what that's worth. So you can actually play a role in things. Obviously, if you saturate bomb, then you're going to cause a decivilization. So if you're actually hunting factions, you can actually see all the icons on the screen here where all this stuff has taken place. So definitely a lot of stuff, all in the core. Not a whole lot happening in the outer planets. So understanding where all this stuff is, and how much you want to play a role in all of that. So I spent the game doing two things. Exploring, which is really to say I found all the gates. All the gates on this particular sector map, I think I know where they all are. And for every single one of them that I found, I fully surveyed that system. So I've got records of everything. Most of them were uninhabited. By far, most of them were uninhabited. And you can see on the second line, the second one in says gates. So there are 50 gates in this solar system, or this sector map, this galaxy. And so I found all of those. So exploration, and then once I was reasonably done with I bounced back and forth between explore and colonizing. But I fully colonized my main star system, and then I added some more to the Bengali Tigris star system. Those are, of course, both part of my mods, as I mentioned in the previous episode. All right, so we've got a very few minutes left, so let's do what we said we were going to do. We're going to go to tab, which is the map. It's hard to see, but you can see the Shasta Balava Gate over here. So I'm going to set course. If we left click, it will bring up information for that planet. If we right click, it will set course. So we are right clicking, and wherever we are, you now see the arrows on the screen as to where we are, and we're pointing over there. All right, so we're going to take off. Number 5 in this case is sustained burn, which will just let us go through faster. Now we might hit asteroids here and run off base and get some damage and stuff. So you saw those little flashy yellow signs. That's somebody that I'm not necessarily friendly with, but because I have open ports, everybody's welcome here. Okay, so in this case, I reached the gate. I have my choices of leave, which is to not do anything, or travel the gate. So the travel here in this case is all 50 of the gates that I know about. I'm going to show up. Now, I happen to know that where the free trade market is this Sentinelta, I guess is how that's pronounced. So I know that's there. I know where the free trade market, and you see the Prism Freeport. Okay, so that's the what I'm looking for. So I'm going to click that, which now sets the terminus to the gate there. Okay, so that's how you do this. You click on the gate, use the gate, and then you click on the terminus, which now physically connects those two gates as the entrance and exit. So here's what it says. Fuel required, 174. Okay, that's a straight number. There's no variables. Okay, but you want to have more than that, because obviously once you get in system on the other side, you got to go somewhere. You're just going to be at the gate. So if you have to travel anywhere, that's going to take more fuel. Okay, so you don't want to just use this as a number. My recommendation is whenever you see a fuel required, make sure you have twice that or more in your stocks. So you never want to be anywhere without fuel. It just sucks. There's a couple good mods out there that will trade. There's fuel siphoning, which will trade your supplies for more fuel. It's okay as long as you have plenty of supplies, but being out of supplies is just as bad as being out of fuel. So in the end, one leads to the other. If you don't have supplies, you can't fix your fleet, you can't do anything. You have anarchy. And if you don't have fuel, in the end, you're stuck where you are, and you're eventually going to run out of supplies, and then you're screwed. So if you run out of supplies, you're screwed. If you run out of fuel, you're screwed. So, Okay, so we've set the other end, and we initiate by pushing the Initiate Transit button. Imagine that. So you see it turn blue. You see I'm going to zip through, and magically I'm going to come out the other side. It's going to remain blue for a second there, and then I'll have stuff come up. Okay, now I'm in the system. So let's do a tab. We'll get to see what this star system looks like. There is absolutely nothing here except for a bunch of nebula and the Freeport. So we're going to right click to set a course, and we're going to head to the Freeport. My goal here is I'm just going to sell that one ship. So we'll get to see how you do that. Okay, my raid was successful. Okay, so here's what we see. So we can repair ships, which you'll also see that option at your own colonies, and trade goods. So we see option 3 on our colonies is manage colony, and we can get to the same 3 screens. Or if we're at an allied colony, which is to say a colony where we're reasonably friendly, then we can trade, but we can also go to all 3 of these things. So trade goods, or hire crew. So we're going to go to that one, number 3, or we can mouse click on it. So here's all of the trade options that we happen to have. Okay, like I said, I buy everything. You can never have too much. So I buy everything that is buyable that is not weapons. So we might look for blueprints. No blueprints here. Okay, this was the open market. Okay, so I'm going to confirm. We have possibilities for high-end sellers, which is going to be weapons, obviously. More weapons. And then we have the black market, which has more stuff and more weapons. Possibly blueprints. Yep, there's a bunch of blueprints here, so we'll look at those in just a second. Let me buy all of these things just because I do that. We have surveys, which are going to take us to particular worlds. So if you find a class 5, there's a class 5 survey. It's going to cost you a little bit, but it will take you to a habitable planet. Okay, so that's always a nice thing. So you can see this sort of thing with the class 1s, 2s, 3s. So do we have, yep, there's a 4 and a 5. So 5s are normally a habitable planet, which, good stuff. So if you are looking for a planet, this is a good way to do it. But let's look down here. This is all the wings and stuff. But, so I know some of these, not all of these. So this may actually be a good thing to buy. So let me go ahead and buy that one. Pirates, I know all that one. So you see it's all grayed out. This one's all grayed out. This one's all grayed out. This one's all grayed out. Oh, that's some nice stuff. That's a single Doberman battlecruiser. Ooh. Pirate. This is Diable Avionics, but I also know this. So the Frostwing is what this is. So any of these, you want to look through the blueprints, make sure you have them. If you can afford them, buy them, because you definitely want blueprints. You can also discover these as you're going around. You'll either find them in debris fields, you'll find them as you investigate ruins, you'll find them especially as you come to research stations. They're notorious for research stations. Old mining stations, you'll often find them. Not always, but often. So, anyway, confirm. So I'm going to go down here, and because I had those here, I'm going to right click to learn. So I will learn everything else. So it says at the top of the screen, acquired 7 weapon blueprints. So good stuff. Okay, I'm also going to sell stuff. So I'm going to sell this. This is a control left click, which just makes it go. Otherwise, if I just left click, I'm going to hold it and then drag it up here. So this just saves you having to manually do that. Weapons, I'm just going to get rid of. And the wings. This guy is something else. Imperium. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay, so confirm. And then I had intended to do this before, I think. But this is, so everything in white is stuff I don't know. So this is a good one here. So right click to learn it, and I learned all of these. Acquired hull mod from the Imperial Elite package. Okay, then we want to go to fleet, because I'm going to sell that one ship. Now you notice, illegal to sell. Why is that? Well, that's because I'm in the open market. So the one that's highlighted is the one that I'm in. So we've got 5 options here on the screen. We've got open market, high-end seller, edge shipyard, ED shipyard, black market, and storage. Storage is me. I'm going to have to buy that. I'm going to have to pay for it. Rented storage, like a rental storage unit. But this is illegal to sell, but I want to sell that. So that's what your black market's for. Yep, indeed. You see that goes away, and they'll actually give you a decent price for that. Now, sometimes there are demods that will drop the price. Sometimes you will have things on it that will increase the price, but it is basically what it is. So in this case, we did the strip, and so there's nothing on it. So sell, either click or S for sell. We will get the dialog window. Okay, we either mouse over it or enter. We'll sell. So that gets rid of that ship. We added 72,000 credits, almost 73,000 credits to our bank account, which in my case doesn't really do any good, but 76,000 is nice. That will run you at the beginning of the game. That will run you quite a bit. You can actually do an awful lot with $76,000. Okay. I think we are just about where we are going to run out of time. So what I'm going to do, you see the hyperspace jump here. So I'm going to tab, which gets me into the star system menu. If we look up here at the top, we see the sector menu, which is also a Q. Then bring up the sector menu. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. To get to this screen is a QQ. Okay, so all the knobology that I said I was going to go into. So even if you zoom in, let's zoom in over here just because. So I'm zoomed in to Mystical Magical Place. QQ goes all the way out and centers. So it's always nice to have. The flashy thing in the center of the screen there is where you are. You are here. Okay, so I want to get to Shasta Belava, which is right over here. It tells me everything. Again, it's markets and colonies are synonymous in this case. So markets. So those are all of my colonies on this particular market. If you look at the bottom of the screen, it says that's 16 light years different. My base burn in this case is 7.1 days. My fuel is 324, which means I need twice that at least to make this journey safely. So I, of course, have plenty because I have my 2, big piles that are $1 million each. So I know I have plenty of fuel. All right, so I'm going to right-click, the other right. Right-click on that, which will set that as my destination. Okay, or if we drill in, we can actually left-click hold. If I lay in course, it's the same as a right-click. If I show system information, it's going to show me the planets list. This is all the colonies in here. I want to go to Shasta. Okay, so I'm going to left-click on Shasta. It's going to bring up Shasta and the information about that, and then lay in course. Okay, so this is the same as doing a left click, except I only go to the terminus. This case, I'm going to go through the jump point and actually continue course until I get to Shasta. So if there are multiple jump points, this will select the most convenient jump point for this system. Okay, so lay in course will enhance everything that we're doing here. So my course is plotted, which means I'm in a star system. I'm going to travel to the closest jump point. I'm going to travel in hyperspace the most direct route I possibly can. And then at the terminating system, I'm going to find the most convenient jump point, because there could be 4 or 5, at that end, which will then ultimately get me the closest to this particular planet destination that I've selected. So I've totally plotted from one point to the other. Okay, lay in course just to make sure it's there, and then I do an escape, which is going to go out of here and launch. So you can see I'm moving. You can see the jump point there. It's going to expand. It's going to say, hey, do you want to go through? Yes, I do, which is a jump to hyperspace. This is hyperspace. I have lots of nebula. There's lots of nebula storms on occasion. We also see on the right-hand side, towards the bottom, you see the kind of radar map of everything going on around you. You also see the fuel that is going to be required for this particular journey as calculated what you got left. Okay, there is a slipstream, which is probably going to cause me problems. So you jump into this and it's going to throw you out the other side. So this is a left click to get me out and away from the slipstream. Those two guys are in battle. And then do an A to resume course, and of course this is the problem, is I have to go through this slipstream. So this is a left click. I'm going to go to the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to turn off number 5 because I want to go in a very specific direction to get me through between the funnel there. Okay, and then I go back to sustain burn. And an A to resume course. So slipstreams are painful. They don't always give you the flexibility of going where you want to go. So days and distance sometimes are running in parallel, but in the end. So eventually we get to the jump point. In this case, both of these systems, the Shasta Belava system and the Bengali system, Bengali Tigris system, are kind of hidden in the nebula, so they're harder to see. So in this case, we get to the jump point. We didn't actually see that there was a jump point there, but indeed there is, and I give the order to jump into the system. Then we are close. We're gonna just go right through that particular asteroid field. Good idea. Yeah. Magically didn't hit anything. Oh, there we did. All my fleet's buzzing around. And then finally to the planet, and we have arrived. So on that, we're going to close. So in reviewing what we've seen, so we went through the command again to see how our income is, our colony information. We we went through ships, shipbuilding, ship modding, so you could actually see the hull mods, how to add the hull mods, how to change hull mods into built-ins, the value of Ordnance Points and where you can go with it. We showed you the little cheater there. Then we actually took a trip to an allied trading station, and we showed you how to buy. I just did it. I didn't really show you how, but so it was the control click. We kind of demonstrated the control click versus the shift left click hold, and have the scale bar that you would have on the other side there. So how you trade in your inventory screen is pretty important. It's nice to have that control left click, which will just put it in the other one. Good stuff. And then ultimately we sold the ship there, so we got to see how that selling, and I didn't really show you the buying portion of it, but there's a tab there that says buy versus sell, and you can buy ships there. So same idea. You see what's in the list, you click on it, you get the information, and then buy it. Click on the button that says buy, and money is deducted, and that ship shows up in your fleet. That click, just click, done. It's in your fleet. So pretty easy. All right, I think that's about it. So this is the end of episode 2 of the Getting Started, as we're calling it now. Hopefully this has been informative. If nothing else, this is Kenty Tiger signing off, and we'll catch you next time.